even if you are a convicted person,
yes,
what you're just saying now applies
to a large extent.
To a large extent, although with varying degrees of success. You know.
Yes.
Now, the question I immediately want to ask is that in the example that you supplied, this hapless person,
yes,
you know, surrounded and spent another 3
years.
months. Now, that person was an inmate.
Yes.
And I think he can be...
An inmate awaiting trial, ATM.
An inmate awaiting trial. But he can be clearly distinguished from a convicted felon.
That's right.
That's another language that lawyers use.
What does the law say about that? As far as I can remember, the Constitution references a convict, not an inmate.
Okay.
And limits it to a certain period of 10 years after the conviction, within which you cannot vie. Huh?
Yes.
Within which you cannot vie
for an elective office.
Elective office.
Now, that is, in fact, you've brought me there, because I was going to come here and say, look, I mean, I don't know Buko, but
you know.
But as we are
put
here
out under
now,
pressure, so you know.
But as we are here now, and you said these things, I begin to now wonder how does the law, the fact that the law, simply because you have been convicted before, you cannot vie for the presidency of this country, for example. You cannot vie to become a governor. You cannot vie to become no, we don't say congressman here, an assemblyman. That's what the law says. So
within a certain period.
Within a certain period.
And don't forget, there's the prerogative of mercy.
Yes,
which is an executive power exercised by the president of this country.
So that could wipe somebody's slate clean.
Yes. And once that applies to you, it's as though you were never. It's as though you were never convicted. So it goes back to
what is INEC now backing in the statement? INEC backs inmates' voting right, emphasizing the word inmates.
Yeah, I thought we have traveled. We'll try to explain that.
Because I think we understand your explanation of who an inmate is, unless we're going to distinguish between an inmate and a convict.
Yes. So what I understand INEC to be saying is that we have come to that stage where another demography of electorates should be considered rather clearly. And these are persons who are inmates in custodian facilities in Nigeria. Scattered all over.
Formerly called prisons.
Prisons.
Formerly called prisons.
And they are in NDLEA, they are in DSS, they are in EFCC. In short, I spent almost one week at Abuja last week trying to, and we succeeded in rescuing one. They can be in, there are so many law enforcement agencies that have prosecutorial powers. That gives them the power to also detain in the course of their investigation, provided you do it within the ambits of the law. The law says detain, that you must take to court or grant bail if your detention facility is at least 40 radius from where he or she is detained. If there is none, you can't exceed 48 hours.
Well,
it must be within that range.
That sounds familiar, because we've often heard people alleging that that particular aspect has been infringed in their own case, that it's supposed to be 48 hours. But let me bring in the first caller this morning. Good morning, Mr. George in Ikeja.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to Malachy.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. George.
Uncle Yori, INEC, in my view, should go and conduct voter education and boost voting population of Nigerians, instead of looking for catchment, what I want to describe as a catchment audience. Once your personal things associated to freedom, you cannot do pick and choose has lost his freedom for that period, except voting freedom. And say, okay, if it is selective, he can go home, attend a family event or club event, and come back. He has to do that. Then, when it comes to voting, you are saying he can go out and vote of his loss of freedom. It doesn't make sense.
No. I don't think it's a matter of going out to vote.
It is the electoral officers to go there.
As opposed to INEC, as it were, going there to meet them.
That's why I call it catchment audience.
Okay.
Catchment in the sense that he has been held captive in a place, and you know he cannot live there. You now come to him and sort of persuade him or force him to vote. When he knows, he will know that if he doesn't vote, there may be some punishment for him inside the prison there. You are making it to look like you are forcing him to vote. If you say he has lost one freedom, he has also lost all other freedoms. Why is he taking political? I know the INEC is doing this because there is low turnout of voters at elections. But the Commission is not in looking for catchment audience. The political parties and INEC are not doing enough to encourage people to vote. Simplify it. Simplify the registration process. And you know the one that you ask somebody to register and you don't get the card in 6 months. And then he has to visit the place about 5 times before he can get captured. That one discourages people. So these are the areas they should look into. And when voting also comes, it should be simplified. Let technology come in. I'm unable to reason along there with our experts there this morning that some rights can be given to somebody who has lost his personal freedom just because we want voters.
Okay.
I said it before that you are voting, and when you are incarcerated, naturally you are an aggrieved person against the authorities. Yes.
Okay. Let me get the response.
Person that is incarcerated believes the authorities are not kind to him.
Okay.
And you want him to vote for them.
Okay. I hear you, sir. Thank you very much. Let me get, Mr. Ogumadu's position.
My presumption is that Mr. George, by the way, I have tremendous respect for Mr. George and his views. I don't think he came in when we started, because we tried to draw a lot of distinctions on so many fronts. The one being that we're talking of inmates whose presumption of innocence is still available to them because they've not been tried. So many of them even come out enforcing those rights we are talking about. Secondly, we're talking of instances in which the election monitoring bodies, staff and officers of the election commission going to, it's a new demography of persons who are otherwise qualified to vote. And the law says you must make yourself available. But in this instance, they are constrained. They are confined. And they are limited to the custodial facility. Therefore, the proposal is that the election monitoring body, staffs of the election, should make provision and visit those facilities. Now, if you have quarrel with persons who unfortunately find themselves detained in custodial facilities, what about Nigerians in diaspora? Do you still quarrel with them? We're talking about inclusion. And I have made the point that the legitimacy of election has to do with the participation of the electorate. So where you, for whatever reason, have exclusions, either by people who are in detentions for what they don't know anything about and still remain Nigerians, many of them innocent, or you are talking of Nigerians in diaspora, many of them contributing even by far more than in terms of patriotic involvement in the country.
I don't know how those in diaspora
in fact,
and our local inmates can be mentioned in the same sentence.
No, I'm making the point that if my friend, Mr. George, has issues with inmates
Okay.
who are yet to be convicted,
Yes.
who are in detention facilities, custodial facilities, and then rationalize.
And so have limited access to the process.
Yes. So will you also extend the same argument for Nigerians who are not in detention but are in diaspora? We are saying that the aspiration should be including every person. In other words, I'm also in support of having diasporans vote.
Okay, indeed.